Hello and welcome everyone to an evaluation of my fourth playtest run of my Memoir 44 double breakthrough map scenario called Force versus Finesse on the Battle of Dubno Brody. And as you can see, the Germans won yet again, but the difference is much bigger than it was in all the other playtest playthroughs. I suppose the main reason for that was that at the beginning the Germans rolled extremely well and the Russians rolled extremely poorly. For example, the KV1 that was at the beginning of the board around here, as well as the T-34, they were destroyed without getting to fire a shot themselves. Again, because the Germans rolled very well and they also cut off the retreat possibilities for the Russians. And they never really managed to catch up. They did very little damage, the Russians, that is. Other than that, the supply trucks worked really well for the Germans. More often than not, they managed to resupply weakened units, but that is completely intentional. So that is definitely not a problem. But since this is the fourth playtest that results in a German win, and I do want it to be more than a slight possibility for the Russians to win, even though I'm perfectly okay with a slight imbalance in favor of the Germans, because they actually did win this particular battle historically, and I guess there was, they could have suffered a setback, an encirclement, but nothing like Stalingrad or anything like that. So a major defeat, I don't think that is something that should happen too easily. But there is one change I'm going to go ahead with and try out. The Russian tank units. So far, I've been trying them with just 2 figures per unit, the regular tank units, that is. What I'm going to try is I'm going to try it with 3 figurines, but that they're hit on stars, so that they're still more vulnerable than regular German tank units, but that it is, that they do last a little bit longer, because now it's all the time like they're either destroyed outright, especially by air power cards, or simply tank attacks, or they suffer one hit and the unit basically becomes useless, even though that was the idea. And they're forced to retreat. You really don't want to, unless they can cause major damage by taking out 2 units at a time or something. You really don't want to give away too many easy medals. So that's what I'm going to try. Everything else is going to stay the way it was, but I'm going to try it out with 3 tank figurines per Russian unit now. They are hit on stars. The same goes for supported armor. Only the T-34s and KV-1s are hit normally, and normally the KVs are even hit like tigers. What else? As you can see, the Germans built a pontoon bridge here. There might have been a nice tank fight here. The Russians do have some tank units here at the back, but that didn't actually happen. The Russians actually could have built a bridge themselves and crossed here. That still might have been an option. I didn't see that before, but that would have been an option, because this KV did, these T-34s did a fantastic job covering the approaches here. The Russians also used to have units here, so once they managed to actually move units up, defending certain terrain is definitely still possible and denying it to the Germans, but it's just that in the front line, it's just a matter of time before the Germans eliminate the Russian units. And again, that's also okay, but it does mean, and it's also a matter of time before the Russians will take, the Germans will take 6 town hexes, thereby negating the Russian reinforcement roll with the 3 extra dice that they're normally not entitled to. And once that happens, it really goes downhill for the Russians there. Anything else? Well, here on this flank, not much happens, but that's okay, I suppose. A T-34 did actually make it there and cause some trouble for the Germans there, which is good. Which is good for a diversion, because they actually made the Germans put some reinforcements here, um, and it's a sideshow in a way. Although this is a possible exit place and an entry place for Russian units as well, but well, the Russians would be really foolish to lose that. It's almost impossible as long as they keep on putting enough reinforcements there. And these are also two good hexes for defense, although you do have to keep in mind that they cannot retreat across the river unless they should build a pontoon bridge there. But that is perhaps not the most logical place to do so, but it is a good place for tanks and to block access to Brody. Well, what else? Well, Germans built a pontoon bridge here. They actually did manage to cross with a few units, but were then repulsed. The Russians got some extra artillery because of reinforcements, which they moved up gradually. So these two artillery units, along with the T-34s, really kept the Germans honest. And as I said, they did penetrate a little bit into Russian territory here, but they were repulsed. Same thing goes for across the bridge here. So yeah, that is all okay. And well, I like the way it played. It took quite long this time to reach the 24 medals, which are needed for a win. I believe, no, that may have been the previous playtest, but definitely the sudden death condition of for the Germans occupying Brody over here, Dubno, and Lutsk, all three at the same time, is definitely a distinct possibility. So something the Russians have to really be aware of. It might have actually have happened that that was the previous playtest, but at a certain time the Germans controlled Lutsk. They controlled Brody also in this particular playtest run, and they were more or less close to Brody. Had they had at a certain time a behind enemy lines card, which they didn't, they might have actually walked into Brody, so to speak. So that is a distinct possibility, which is a nice way because it keeps the Russians honest as well. So yeah, that's what happened, and this is the only change I'm going to make, and let's see how that plays out. Let's see if it brings the Russians closer to a possible win. Thank you for watching.